Before lo-fi hip-hop was one of the biggest genres in the world, before the chilled cow, chilled beat playlist, before the girl studying at her desk, there was him. A quiet architect of sound, one might say a poet without a mic. He didn't just make beats, it was almost as if he painted emotions in rhythm. His MPC, his canvas. His name was Seba June. And whether you know it or not, you've probably felt his fingertips and his influence on a multitude of your favorite tracks. This is the story of the godfather of lo-fi hip-hop. This is the story of Nujabes. So some time ago, I made a video called The Modern Day Father of Lo-Fi Hip-Hop, right? And in that video, I went into depth talking about the producer beside you, who I respect very much, right? Who I view personally as the modern day father of, or the father of modern day lo-fi, right? A lot of people in the comments were like, they had their own opinions. They're like, I respect beside you, but some people might have been like, I feel like Ginseng, or I feel like Tampa, right? You know what I mean? But a lot of majority of people saying, does Nujabes exist? Did you forget Nujabes? Like, you know what I mean? I wanted to make the distinction though, because when you're talking about from the influence from those early 2000s to now, thinking about those producers like Beside You, or Patsu, or Ginseng, or Vanilla, you know what I mean, or Tampa Beats, I truly believe that he laid the foundation for those producers, and you can just see the influence literally in all of their work, So today we're gonna go over this beat that I made in the style of Nujabes. We're gonna break it down layer from layer, kind of how I chopped the sample, to the drum selection, to the effects that I use, and just kind of the overall vibe, and kind of how you can take a sample and kind of flip it into something similar, or at least what you can learn from Nujabes, right? You already know who it is. It's your boy JD Andre. Let's go. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and run this beat so you can hear what it sounds like. I'll give you just a little bit of a taste of it, right? So this is the beginning, okay? So pretty much that's the beat. Like I had a couple of variations on here, but that's pretty much the bare bones. And to me personally, I feel like this does a good job of kind of highlighting some of Nujabes' techniques and kind of the styles and kind of the sample choices that we use. So let's get into it though. So there's two songs from Nujabes that I felt really inspired by and kind of what brought me to this beat. One was Aurorian Dance, and then also the other one was Reflection Eternal. In both of those songs, he uses very chilled samples and very loose drums, and it's just very peaceful. But in Reflection Eternal, he actually uses two samples, and that's kind of what I took inspiration from for this one specifically. I used like a melodic sample, and then I got like a vocal sample, and I put them together, okay? So for example, this is the first part of the sample that I had. I'll play a little bit of it here. So if you listen to it, it already sounds smooth. It sounds like something Nujabes would just sample instantly, right? And honestly, personally, the reason why I feel like it sounds really like Nujabes is because he uses a certain amount of sounds, right? There's certain type of sounds that you're like, oh, this is a Nujabes sound. He loves acoustic guitar that's very open, right? He loves flutes. He loves like jazz piano. He loves very light and airy sounds. So if you listen, you can hear like that. So you can hear that wind instrument, you can hear that, But for this sample specifically, I chopped it up Not necessarily on any snares or kicks, because there were no snares or kicks, but what I did is I just found the transients that I really enjoyed and not just put chops on those transients. Now I'm going to show you an instance of where just looping something doesn't exactly work. So for this sample, an example, if I were to just try to loop it, this is what it would sound like. 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. You see how the timing is a little off and it doesn't like this is a little more avant-garde and it's jazz, you know what I mean? So it's a little harder to get that perfect loop. So what I did and what Nujabes usually does in his tracks, he chops it in an interesting kind of rhythm where it's almost like chop, 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 and then hold a chop, and then chop, 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 and then hold another chop. Let me kind of explain what I did. It's kind of hard to explain by just telling. So here's my chop, and I kind of show you what it sounds like. So this is it. But you see what I'm saying? So for the first chop, I kind of held it out for a little bit. 1, 2, 3, and then I said 1, 2, 3, and then and I let that one on the 2, I let that really ring out, and then I came back with another dun dun dun. And if you listen to a lot of his beats, he kind of chopped like that. Like he would chop, he would have one chop that sounded good holding out, or he would have one chop that sounded really good, kind of ringing out, and then he would do quick little chops, and then he would do another one that kind of had a good trail, right? And then he went back to the little micro chop. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's still counting at the end of the day, but I was trying to do this to keep it in time and keep it lined up with the beat, right? Okay, but honestly, that's pretty much it for that sample. I'm pretty sure that let me see. So I did another sample, and I think this is, so I did another sample just to add some variation, kind of using the same idea in this. And then, so what I did, so the next thing I did, I found a vocal sample, because I wanted to do something that had a cool melodic sample, but I also wanted to add a vocal sample to the beat. You know, I just add that je ne sais quoi, add that little extra flair to it. And so this is the sample that I got. And I'll kind of play, I'll play it from the top.
So long, I'll miss you, dear, I know.
So I literally just took that, did a bunch of micro chops, and the first one, I held out, right? And so I wanted that first, so long, like I wanted that to like ring out, and then I micro chopped the rest, and this is what it sounds like.
So long, I'll miss you, dear, I know. So long, miss you, I know, I'll miss you. So long.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4. Be something.
Miss you, I know, I'll miss you.
It's just like one of those things that he just does, you know, like he loves to stretch out one part of the sample and then do micro chops, stretch out another part of the sample and then go back into micro chops. It's literally kind of like one of his calling cards. Like he enjoys those type of patterns, and you can hear it literally in a lot of the beats that he makes, right? So yeah, so I mean, that's it as far as the sample. And together, this is what it sounded like.
So long, I'll miss you, dear, I know. So long, miss you, I know, I'll miss you.
Right? And it just adds that little vibe. I don't even know. It just adds that little flair, because without it, it's just. Which still sounds good, but when you throw in that little vocal chop, it adds a whole different flavor to it.
So long, I'll miss you, dear, I know. So long, miss you, I know, I'll miss you.
You know, it just adds a little flair. And then also, by the way, all I did to get them in the same key was just found the key of the sample, and then I just kind of made sure that the vocals were there too. That's pretty much it. The melodic sample is in C major, And so I tuned the vocal chop to A minor, which is the relative minor of C major. So yeah, that's literally it for the sample. And then let's talk drummies. So as far as drummies, I really kept it pretty simple, but I'll kind of explain what I did here. So let's go to our drums. Okay, so I just started with a hat. And honestly, if you listen to a lot of Nujabes beats, like, I didn't really do too much with the velocity. Like, I had changed it up a little bit, but I kind of kept it fairly on the grid because listening to his stuff, it kind of just sounded like he was just kind of really on the grid. It was snap to the grid a little more than the loose feel of like Jay Dilla, so. And then I had the little kick. So really what I was trying to do here is I was really just trying to build off of the sample, right? And so I listened to the sample and I was like, man, how would these kicks and these hats and the snare sound in relative to the sample, right? And that's just kind of what I came up with. And this is what it sounds like if you were to put it together. Okay, right? And then I went ahead and, had to add a little snare. Actually, this is a clap. My fault, it's a clap. Okay, but also when you're listening to Nujabes beats, man, they just have this vibe, like, especially not even just Nujabes, but a lot of old boom bap, a lot of old hip hop from back in the day. One of the calling cards was using drum breaks, and that's how you really got that sound, that old school sound. So I just got this little drum break, and I'm pretty sure it's from Funky President. That's what it says. And so, yeah, this is what it sounds like adding that, by the way. So these are the
funky down.
Right.
Nasty.
And so it has those vocals in there. And so I was like, I don't want those vocals in there the whole time. So I just extracted the stems I extracted the stems. And so I just took out the drums. So it's just. But honestly, I like the vocals. Like, I just didn't want them the whole time. So I took them out too. And I just added it in the beginning just to add some different flair. So.
Funky down. Nasty. Hey, listen.
You know what I mean? It just gives it like a whole different vibe, right? It literally gives it like, it adds a little more like oomph. You know what I mean? Gives it a little more body, if you will. Next, I just added a little bit of tape hiss. So this is what it sounds like, adding that. Also with some vinyl crackle. Without it.
Funky.
Bring that. It's really subtle.
Nasty. Hey, listen.
It's really subtle, but it's just really supposed to give it a little bit of warmth, a little bit of grit. You know what I mean? Again, it's adding to the spectrum of your sound, right? And then kind of to end it out, and this is really about it, I just added some, and this is so classic Nujabes, but I added some forest sound with some birds and like the wind, the trees, and this is what it sounds like with that.
Funky down. Nasty. Hey, listen.
And that's what I mean. Again, like I said, you can hear like the birds just a little bit. It's not overpowering, but it just adds to the spectrum of sound, right? You know what I mean? It just adds into filling out the space and making it sound more full. And so now this is what everything sounded with the sample, with the atmosphere, with the drums and everything. This is what it sounds like. Sound pretty good, right? Like at least I thought it sounded pretty good. So basically the reason why it's over here like this is because I consolidated the samples so I could make them a WAV file. So that way I could chop it, you know, and when I chop it, the audio cuts all the way out instead of being dragged on by like reverb and like, you know. So another thing that Nujabes loves to do, he loves to play with the filter. I talked about this in one of my past videos on Nujabes. And basically all I did was go to Synology effects, and then I took a super filter and I added a little automation clip, and I just play with the filter a little bit. I mean, nothing really crazy, but just literally you can see how it changes the beat. Listen.
Hey, listen.
But you see what I'm saying? Like it's not like such a big thing, you know, but it adds just a little variation, and I don't know, it's just a vibe, you know? Sometimes it's really the little things like adding silences or playing with the filter a little bit, or like, you know, adding a little variation on the sample. Like those little things go a long way in making your beat sound more interesting, you know? So yeah. But in a nutshell, man, that's really the whole beat. It really wasn't a super complex beat. I know it seems like I have a lot of layers going on, but it wasn't that much. So I'll get into processing a little bit. I didn't do too much. On my master track, all I have really is I have the RX 950, right? I put this on a lot of my stuff. Pretty much every track that I do is gonna have RX 950. Basically all it does is gives a lot of grit and warmth to the beat.
Hey, listen.
You know what I mean? This also has a filter. I went ahead and threw on Valve Compressor, Mastering Edition. You know, just this is all adding warmth and this is adding more grit. That's really all we're doing when we're boosting the sound.
Hey, listen.
Bring it in. I didn't do too much gain because I was gonna get a lot of gain from the limiter. So, you know, I love limitless. Doing that literally just to boost the whole signal. It's not complicated, y'all. It's really not a whole lot. On the sample, I just made it a little stereo. These are from the automations from doing the filter and stuff. Simple stuff. Again, I just wanted to add some different sounds to the sample, you know?
Hey, listen.
It just adds we're just add a little grit here and there, man. That's really it. Add a little reverb.
Hey, listen.
It just gives it a little more sense of space. I got the Fruity limiter, that way I can sidechain the kick to the sample. Again, simple stuff, y'all, simple stuff. There's nothing crazy I really even did here. I'm pretty sure that was it. Yeah, that was literally it. So that's the whole beat.
Funky. Down. Nasty. Hey, listen.
So yeah, really that's basically the whole beat. It's really not that complicated, you know? I just found a sample that I feel like Nujabes would use, something really light and airy, something that has some flute, some guitar, some like piano, something real jazzy. You don't have to get a vocal chop. You really don't have to, because the beat sounds great without the vocal chop, but I think that just added a little extra flavor. But add a little tape hiss, add a little vinyl crackle. Use drum breaks. It's only going to enhance the sound, you know, it's going to give it that a little more fullness. Simple drums, nothing crazy, but also you want to make sure that you're playing to the sample's strengths, you know what I mean? Try to build it around the sample is what I would say. Mess with filters a little bit here and there. Add a little, I didn't really add too many, but mess around with sound effects and throw in some bird noises. And you got a Nujabes beat, man, you know what I mean? Like, at least I think this sounds something that would be on one of his projects, you know? I feel like this could be on like a little commercial for like Samurai Champloo or something, you know? But hey, that's it. So anyway, homie, I hope that you got something out this video. Again, I had not been feeling well. I apologize. This video was supposed to be out like a few days ago, but you know, I'm still recovering. You can kind of hear it in my voice. But yeah, this is a super fun one. I love Nujabes and his influence on the whole culture and just hip hop, lo-fi, everything in general can't be understated, honestly. Also, big disclaimer, I want people to understand that I am aware that Nujabes didn't create lo-fi, right? He wasn't the pioneer of lo-fi, right? Lo-fi, low fidelity was a thing that's been around since the 70s, the 80s, you know, low fidelity sound, right? But when I'm talking about lo-fi, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the idea of lo-fi hip hop with like jazzy beats, you know, like chill drums and just chill progressions, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's all he did, but he was a pioneer, and he definitely laid the groundwork and the foundation for a lot of creators that came after him, you know? So just to clarify, all right? Just to clarify. Again, I hope that you got something out of this video. Homie, I love you so much. I appreciate you for getting to the end of the video. Again, if you have not already, please follow your boy on Instagram at JDAndre right here. And also, if you haven't already, join the homies in them Discord. Like, what are you doing? You're not in there? What are you doing? You know, I literally made it for the homies, and you the homies, so you should join it. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, you already know who it is. It's your boy JDAndre. I love you all very much. You are so awesome and wonderfully made. And I can't wait to catch y'all on the next video. I will see y'all next time. Peace.